Over the last year, every major manufacturer seems to be coming out with their version of an all-in-one home gym, usually in the form of a power rack equipped with cable-driven functional trainer, lat pull-down, or similar, all built in. This here is the Speediance Gym Monster 2, which is another all-in-one home gym solution, but differs in the fact that A, it clearly has a built-in screen, electronics, and then therefore some sort of smart tech integration, and B, it actually doesn't really look too much like a piece of gym equipment at all, which I think is one of the major selling points for this machine. It's sleek, aesthetic, has a small footprint and form factor, but is also very capable for what it needs to do, boasting 220 pounds worth of total resistance, almost 400 workout classes to follow along with, a 2-year warranty, a bench, and plenty of included cable attachments to get you started. So let's check it out. Hey guys, this is Michael with the Jungle Gym Reviews. So I've owned the Speediance Gym Monster 2 for the last few months, and so now I wanted to provide a more in-depth review on this product after I've had more time to test it out and put it through the paces in my workouts. For those who aren't familiar, I'm doing a multi-part series on this Gym Monster 2, and you can find my prior videos covering some initial feedback and impressions on this machine in the links in the video description. If there's anything you want to see covered for the next video, please leave a comment after watching this review. Before I get into the review, if you could also quickly hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, it will help us continue to grow the channel. Make sure you get notified when we post our weekly review videos throughout the rest of 2025. Also, if you're interested in purchasing this machine after the review, please check out the affiliate link and the coupon code in the description below. So as I mentioned, the Speediance Gym Monster 2 is one of the newest all-in-one smart home gym offerings, and it's meant specifically to easily fit and set up in any room or space you already have inside your home. It technically falls into like a smart functional trainer category since it's a dual cable machine with adjustable cable height options that can be either placed up and down the side of the frame like a typical functional trainer upright, or can move to attach directly to the base of the platform for vertical cable movements. It's designed with this narrow frame in mind, obviously to keep the overall profile and form factor very compact, but it also allows you easily to connect the two individual cables with some sort of different bar options, therefore allowing you your choice of bar training, like a barbell, or using both cable handles individually, or even with two different people using each side of the machine with different weight settings, all at the same time in their special partner workout mode. The centerpiece of this machine is the 21.5-inch TV/monitor mounted to the top of the frame, and this is the interface that allows you to do and select everything you need to do with this machine, changing the weights, selecting the resistance mode, upping the volume, playing music, connecting the Bluetooth accessories, watching and following along with the classes. Everything's done from here. Speaking of the classes, that's another main feature of this Gym Monster 2. As I mentioned, it has almost 400 interactive classes to choose from. Last I checked, I think it was about 385, which makes this great for a beginner who wants to follow along with guidance as far as what to do, or honestly, even for more experienced fitness fanatics that just simply want a way to get a workout in quickly, either for a set amount of time, without having to think about picking the exercises, how to set up for each exercise, the order of the workout, etc. Now, the best feature or features for this machine, because of the technology integrated or smart machine, is the fact that it has different dynamic resistance mode that you can select. This is what really differentiates this machine from a traditional weight stack or plate-loaded functional trainer, which just has the one resistance setting, which is a function of its design, the cables, the pulley, and other mechanical factors. The Gym Monster 2 has the same typical or standard resistance mode as they call it, but also has a simulated chain mode, which gets progressively harder the further away from the starting point you get, eccentric mode, which makes the eccentric portion of the movement dynamically harder, and you can customize just how much weight is on the eccentric versus the concentric portion of the movement respectively. And finally, the fixed speed mode, which basically dynamically controls the cables and therefore you to travel at the same speed throughout the movement, no matter how much force you generate, which allows you to get kind of athletic and explosive and dynamic with just how much ever weight you can output, like a deadlift, let's say, but it forces you to go slow and controlled to that preset pace. In addition to those resistance modes, while in the free lift mode, you can choose dumbbell or barbell configuration, meaning whether or not you want to use each side individually, like you could with dumbbells, or connect a bar attachment to use both sides coupled together by a bar. The dumbbell mode applies the same weight selection to both sides, so if you select 20, it'll be 20 pounds from each cable, But then that partner mode I mentioned earlier allows you to adjust each side weight separately from the other, although the resistance modes will get applied to both sides in partner mode. Again, to clarify, this means you can select in partner mode one person, let's say, to be doing curls from a low height setting with 50 pounds, while the other one's doing tricep pushdowns from a high height setting with 30. But if you select the standard resistance mode or eccentric mode, it's going to be applied to both sides, and you can't change each to its own resistance mode specifically. So outside of the features, some of the main things to know about this machine is the weight of the machine itself is 171 pounds. And I mentioned in my last video, since most of the weight sits at the bottom of the machine where the motors are, it can be honestly heavy and a little awkward to carry up the stairs, so you'll need at least 2 people for that. Although once you do get it on the floor you want, you can easily move it to its final destination due to the built-in roller wheels and the fact it fits your standard width doors, since the width of the machine is only 27 inches wide. The other important dimensions to note are the front to back depth, while in folded mode is about 15 inches, and the height of the machine is just shy of 73 inches. The resistance capacity of the machine, or the actual amount of working weight you can use, is 110 pounds per side, or 220 pounds total. This means you can bench press with the cable handles to get 110 pounds of resistance from each arm and handle, or if you want to squat or deadlift by connecting the 2 cables together with the bar, you get 220 pounds as your max resistance. This is likely enough for most people, but if you're a power lifter or someone who focuses specifically on heavy barbell free weight movements, the 220 pounds max resistance won't likely be heavy enough for things like barbell benching, squats, deadlifts, etc., especially if you exceed that corresponding threshold on the equivalent free weight movement. Now this seems like a lot of cool features, form and functionality packed into this machine, but understand it does come with a bit of a price. The current price of this machine, although it's always hard to nail down exactly because of the frequent discounts and sales, but as of the time of filming this review, it's $3,400 for the Works package, $3,549 for the Works Plus, and $3,949 for the Family Plus. Like I mentioned, they have frequent sales and coupons. Currently, the sale price on their website for all of those packages allows you to purchase them about $200 to $300 less than those listed prices. Speaking to those different package contents, I won't go into depth for everything you can get included in each, as you can see it easily and exhaustively on their product page, but just understand the unit itself stays the same. The difference is only for the included accessories and attachments in each package, which you can always buy on their own later. The base package, the Works, does come with all what I consider the necessities to use as a typical functional trainer, including, but not limited to, a bar, some D-handles, tricep rope, the Bluetooth controller ring for adjusting and engaging or disengaging the weight from your fingertips, and a flat bench. If you do want an included adjustable bench, you need to buy one of the next 2 higher packages. In addition to those included attachments, there are some very unique and versatile attachments you can add by getting a higher package like I mentioned, or again, purchasing separately. The biggest one that comes to mind are the 2 rowing attachments or rowing machine bases that they have, which allows you to use this machine to mimic a dedicated standalone rower like a Concept 2, for example. Then you can purchase skiing handles to mimic things like a ski erg. They also have Bluetooth smart handles that they call the power grip handles that, just like that ring, you can engage and disengage the resistance from your thumbs. And the other one I highly recommend is the accessories organizer, because once you have all these attachments, unless you have a closet or some wall storage to put everything on or in, they end up on the floor and take up space. If you have a shared use room like a bedroom or an office, or even if you have a main living room, you'll need to find a way to store all the attachments and accessories. I will go into some further detail on the adjustable bench and accessories in one of my upcoming videos, but for now I wanted to mention that if you get the adjustable bench, it's adjustable from flat to 90 degrees. You can prop up the seat by a few degrees with a built-in kickstand they have under the seat. Also, I mentioned before, all the packages come with that Bluetooth smart ring, but I find I really only need to use that for benching and squatting when you're starting in a position that doesn't allow you to have a hand free in order to press, engage, or disengage via the screen. The Bluetooth power grip handles I do really like and find these much more useful than that smart ring in my setup, because with just that click or 2 of your thumbs, depending on how you configure it, you can engage the weight at the exact same starting point and vice versa from whenever and wherever you are done with the cable movement. I do want to mention, in case it's not obvious, both the Bluetooth ring and the handles, since they're electronics, do need to be charged occasionally, but not very often. As far as my use case and how I have personally used or would use a machine like this in my training, I'm what I consider myself a pretty standard hypertrophy-oriented lifter, meaning I focus on general strength in moderate rep ranges, anywhere from 8 to 20. So traditional barbell, dumbbell, bodybuilding type movements, using things like a functional trainer for accessories, machines, some cardio, maybe an air bike, treadmill, rower. So in theory, with this machine, not only is it capable, but definitely aligns with my personal training goals, with maybe the exception of the overall max weight capacity being limited in my heavy compound movements like squatting and deadlifting. I will also mention 4 compound barbell movements. That connected bar feature on this obviously doesn't feel exactly like a true free weight barbell would. It doesn't feel bad, just different. If you've ever used a functional trainer before and tried to connect a single bar to both sides of the trainer, you'll know you really have to be aware of distributing the exact same amount of force on both sides. Otherwise, you get a little imbalanced with one side kind of pushing and the other pulling. And the same goes here, feels exactly the same as that. So I just want to mention, if you're expecting it to feel like a barbell and free weights exactly, it won't, but that's not the fault of this machine, but rather just a function of how cables and cable attachments and cable machines work in general, just due to physics. So now you're probably asking $3,000 to $4,000, depending on which version I get. How well does it work? Honestly, overall, I think it works really well. And I really enjoy the features that it offers, especially with respect to the different resistance modes and capability there. And that's where this machine really shines, in my opinion, and my training. However, there have been a handful of times where the resistance mechanism has had a hiccup where it feels like it's gotten stuck or twisted, or will sometimes make a thumping or clicking noise as the cables come out and retract. But a reset of the machine and or pulling the cable all the way till it's maxed out, turning off the machine, letting it calibrate and respool on its own every startup has always done the trick so far. Besides something like that happening every once in a while, changing the height of the cables up and down the uprights, moving them to the base floor plate attachment points is very intuitive and easy. The cable travel is smooth and feels like a real trainer cable in standard mode, and the distinct intended feel while in the other modes, while still being very smooth. And I would even say it's smoother than about half of the dedicated functional trainers I've owned in the past. You can just get on this machine and get started doing whatever exercise you want in the free lift mode within 10 to 20 seconds from startup or standby. Changing the weights and resistance modes is easy. Changing the accessories is simply done with a push of a button. And really, even if you did nothing other than try to use this exactly like a purely mechanical functional trainer, it serves that purpose really well. Now, the limitations of this machine are simply really just a function of its design and packaging. Since it's meant to be narrow and not that tall, it can make certain movements a little different or have to be a little more compromised feeling than a taller and wider functional trainer. Specific examples that come to mind are chest flies, because the left to right width is narrow at only about 27 inches. But again, that's by design, which is intended to be overall compact and able to connect those two cables again together with a bar. Other things I've noticed is that you can't sit right underneath the top handles for like a pull down movement due to the housing of the motors and such at the base. So trying to do lat pull downs can be a little awkward because you have to sit back and lean over. So movements like that take some time adapting and getting used to. For bench pressing, you can stick one end of the bench on the platform and the other on the floor. It does create ever so slight of an incline or decline depending on your orientation. But in order to realistically get your torso and the bench position properly underneath the bar resistance path, you have to do that. Squatting, you can't really have more than a shoulder width stance because your feet will be hitting where the cable locations are. But you also do have to be mindful that you have properly locked the base of the machine when you come down from that upright storage position, because otherwise you could potentially pull the top of the unit down if you go to heavy lat pull downs, rows, or something, and you didn't notice and lock them prior. And at the end of the day, a machine like this, or really any gym equipment machine ever, can't ever be a one-size-fits-all solution for every fitness style and type, because simply no machine is ever that. This one serves exactly its purpose, does exactly what it advertises, and minus the occasional technical related glitch like the cables or a Bluetooth device needing to sync, or that you left the volume a little too loud last time so you got to turn it down, it works exactly as it's intended. So now the question you have to ask yourself when considering a product like this is, what are you looking for in a functional trainer and or smart home gym? Depending on your answer, this machine may be the right one for you. As a standalone functional trainer, it functions really well if you understand the limitations of overall size and width and such. If you just need a functional trainer, a purely mechanical one can be purchased for probably half this cost or less, although it won't have some of the cool features or tech integration that this has. If you really want something that has the tech integration and like the idea of using classes, something just like this machine or another cable-driven smart home gym might be the one for you. And if you want something that doesn't look as abrasive or noticeable as a massive power rack or trainer sitting in your living room, or even some smart tech that you don't want permanently mounted to a wall like a tonal, and you need something that's not super noticeable with a small footprint, this could definitely be something for you. One other consideration is that this machine does not have a subscription cost to use the machine or any of the free lift functions like I mentioned, including the different resistance types. But if you're purchasing it exclusively for the class options or some of the other features like that built-in smart trainer that learns about you, your strength, your lifts, and can provide guidance and recommendations for future workouts, just know you'll have to pay for that functionality with a subscription. Just like you'll have to pay if you want access to the entire online class library, the same monthly subscription to get full access to both of those features. Now, one plus to this machine over something like Tonal is that you do get a 2-year warranty with parts and repair coverage included, and have the option to buy a longer warranty period at purchase, which for something that costs over $3,000 is definitely worth a consideration in my opinion. Once again, for my own training, this is not a direct substitute for a power rack and dumbbells, as there's trade-offs as I mentioned. Some of the other things to consider is that because the specific Gym Monster 2 product is new, although they did have an original version Gym Monster a couple years ago, this brand and technology doesn't quite yet have a proven track record of long-term durability or issues just because it hasn't been around that long. That being said, I'm really interested to see how it holds up after 5 to 10 years in the future. Again, for me personally, since I have a dedicated garage gym, which is exposed often to really hot and really cold temperature and humidity, coupled with the fact I need and want dedicated exercise-specific machines, and I don't really ever use classes, this probably isn't something I wouldn't personally purchase for my home over a regular functional trainer and a rack. I will say though, my wife's parents have a small cottage, and to me, this is a perfect thing I would love to have there. Saves me a trip to the gym on vacation, or in having it in a remote place where the gym's harder to get to, and or I just don't have the space for free weights, a rack, or a dedicated bigger gym setup. I would definitely use this and prefer to use that in this situation, but with the $3,000 plus asking price, I really have to weigh and ask myself if a pair of dumbbells and adjustable bench, maybe for a third to half of the cost, wouldn't work just as well. Like I said earlier, the consideration is highly dependent on your personal needs and even your budget. Now I'm going to continue using this machine for the next few months and generate another video or two specific content regarding even more testing and longer term use. The final video in this series, I plan to go over a few more in-depth and up-close details, including specifics on certain traditional cable/trainer movements and limitations of each on here, my thoughts on the cable friction and the retraction noise, how to get set up for most of your major exercises, examples of some of the classes, close-up use and feedback of the rowing machine, things like the skiing movement, some of the safety features, and a few more nuanced things that would just take all too long to address in one singular video like this one. Plus, I just need a few more months of time to investigate and share my even more longer-term feedback. So guys, that's it for this review of the Speediance Gym Monster 2. As always, if you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer or at least try. Thank you for tuning in to the Jungle Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.